Alright, hell yeah. This is going to be a surf tutorial. And so I'll be able to stop and start the footage. Now, this kind of might just be more for me, but if you want to get into the detail, nitty gritty of spinning on a wave. So we have a wave right here, and we're just going to be practicing spinning on it. You know what I mean? So that time it didn't turn out, and a lot of these don't. And so that one was just a little bit better. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to analyze, like, hey, let's see why we got just shot out of this one so fast. And, I've already watched these all the way through, and I've come to a couple conclusions. Is one, spatially where you are on this wave is important. But the fundamentals of the actual spin, so let's take a look at this. So I go for the spin. So I'm trying to, so here's the main part of the wave from here to here, and then I'm going to reach in for a pry, and I'm going to try to sweep as I pry the boat, I'm prying that way, or prying off the back of the boat, it's going to sweep this part of the boat around. And so what I've found, and so I start to lean back right here, and this is good. And the other aspect of the spin is allowing the boat to get spun off of the, here's the lowest part of the trough, here's the incoming wave. I think this is called the face of the wave. I'm kind of lacking on my terminology. But what happens is the front of the boat gets hit and then spins. And I'm going to use that to my advantage. So right here we get some water over the bow, and that's going to generate a spin. Now, the fundamentals of, this is a physics concept of, like, hey, the center of mass, even though we have something spinning, the center of mass of this boat doesn't really need to change. You know what I mean? Technically, this got hit, it's just going to spin in a circle. And so there's nothing that says that this impact has to send me downstream. And so what I want to do is know that that's going to impact, and I'm going to jump to the back of the boat right about here, just lean back into this far corner. So if the boat gets hit right here, it's going to swing this way. I want to be at the opposite. And the other the idea is I want to be leaning and edging up against the pile. The tallest part of the pile is just on my right, and so I not only want to be over on that pile, edging my boat, but also back, and then swinging that pry around, and just acting as that pivot point. And when I do that, now this is where I need to get better from this footage. Maybe taking a couple, like doing a pry, but then kind of doing 2 quick pries, but keep going for it, and don't turn around until, I know that my boat is fully low-sided back into that wave. So this, using those principles, like that one, we just easily got pieced off. All right, hell yeah. So that one was a lot better because I was definitely lower in the trough right here, and I'm sweeping around. But this is a mistake that I make throughout, this session, is when I go for this spin. Right now, I just instantly want to jump to the other side because that'll be the stable position to catch the surf. But what I really need to focus on is just staying with this pry. And even if it feels like the boat's going to go, like if I do stay with this sweeping pry, or pry, like a reverse sweep, I guess, is that I'll be facing backwards, and it's kind of uncomfortable. I won't know what's going on, and so we'll take a look at that today. But because I just kind of go too soon switching gears, like my boat bites right there, and that happens quite a bit. All right, let's see what happens in this one. So I'm definitely low in the trough. Definitely not enough. One thing for sure is not enough pry. And then the other thing is, I even scoot forward and then do the pry. Where if my boat is going to hit right there, so my boat hits right there, I want to be in the opposite corner. Because if I am over here, sure, the boat's going to rotate, but the center of mass of this whole system isn't going to, You know what I mean? Because it hit, but now the side is biting, and now this is actually going to kick me downstream. So if I guess if I was on my game, it's like I don't mind. There's a couple aspects that I learned from today. Is like definitely wanted to be low down in this trough. So even on the approach, we'll see some clips where I just cruise off the top of this. And so even just like right here, taking a paddle stroke forward, getting low into this trough, then leaning up against that pile. And so like right there, I should be low down in the trough, expect that my boat's going to, and hey, like this paddle stroke could have been coupled with just jumping to the highest part of the wave, which is over here. It would hit right here, and then I could start my pry, and then I could probably do an easier spin. So even just off these first 3 clips, I think I have a lot of juice going into next session. But this is all really subtle. But let's look at this one all the way through. So definitely got deep with that paddle stroke, but went forward and then I moved my body forward and then tried to do a sweep. Game over, because the biggest part of the wave is, well, it's right at my paddle stroke, but and that's all right if I could really effectively edge this boat. But that's the other thing. Part of R1 raft design, for surfing, you don't need a 10-foot boat. You know what I mean? I bet you an 8-foot fully rockered, tip to tail, and then rocker underfoot boat would just be way better to surf. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. So we're doing a lot with a big boat on a small wave, even though it's only a 10-foot boat. Still trying to do stuff that kayakers are doing. So hell yeah. All right. So let's see what we do on this one. You know what I mean? That one was just kind of management of just like, hey, that's fine. That's fine if I get this pearl right here. See how I take a stroke forward? Yeah, we want to be low in the trough. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter there's a bigger portion of the wave over here. But the second my boat hits, it's going to rotate. So that's where I need to be leaning back, jumping back a little bit, and then prying. You know what I mean? So that pry was late. So see how I paddle forward, it bites. That's my key to jump back. See that delay? You know what I mean? It bit. I should be in this position. It's almost a full second. I take another forward stroke before, you know what I mean? I need to do that. And this comes up a lot in rafting, and it's good to film yourself, especially on your surf when, there's a lot of times where people get spun and they think they can just like weight shift and then maybe they'll get back in the hole. Well, usually it's like 2 seconds late, where you can improve upon that, ability to be like, nope, I can weight shift now. And on this one, it's right now, not there. So that's just a little bit late. All right, hell yeah. So now we're on this hole over here, and this is a pretty sticky hole. But once I get bucked up to the top, there's so much current that it's really hard to. But the same principles, it doesn't matter if it's a hole or a wave. So right here, I'm allowing my boat to catch water. I know it's going to spin to the right. The second I know that, hell yeah, I need to be just leaning back, jumping back. And I might say the word jumping back, but leaning back, the same thing. Just physically moving your body like 4 inches backwards and then be looking for that pry. Even taking your eyes off of here and then, and I'm just saying this for myself, so like next time around, maybe I can intuit these things. But definitely right now, I should be already prying. And so like right there, I take the buck and we're hardly prying, to get that boat to spin. I don't even think I really pried. I just wanted to like, chill for the ride. And that's fine. And film yourself doing that when you're just like, man, this is cool enough. And the boat's going to get a little bit sideways and I don't know what's going on. But then go back to your footage and be like, oh yeah, can you quicken things up? Like right here, go back for it. Well, once I feel this, I can allow the boat to spin underneath me. And that, like right now, this is like the best part of this video for me because I know that intuitively. I can allow the boat to do whatever it wants. Like I'm the center of mass. And that's kind of cool where like you're dominant in an R1 boat. The boat only weighs like 50, 60 pounds. you know, you weigh 100 and whatever, and it's the biggest portion of the mass. And so if this boat gets turned that way, I can literally, like even just like right now, pick my weight up and then place it somewhere. And you're always looking at like this part of the boat's up against the wave. You're always trying to get your body on top of this wave, away from the trough, and then with paddle strokes. So 4 inches back, go for that pry right now, and then just really start to whip it around. And as I would whip it around, this part of the boat would already be heading down the low side. So you're using that momentum, and that'll carry you back down into the wave. So like right there, like it almost did that, just not doing anything. But that's where, you know what I mean, definitely getting aggressive. And this is where I need to be flipping every time just to you know, really drive this boat back down into the low side. Even if I'm facing up, like downstream, which is facing backwards to the wave. And that can get a little bit tricky. And I need to talk about that. So if I do a sweeping stroke, and maybe we'll pick a video where we actually get around. So let's watch this next one. So a lot of these are just trying to spin off of here, and man, every time was a little bit different. You know, it's fascinating how you can nail one, and then you're just like, well, why didn't that work? And so, I can see why that one didn't work. You know what I mean? This boat, I mentioned in my R1 design that it definitely has rocker under sideways, you know, side to side. I can lean onto this outer tube, and the boat isn't going to, but even just like right here, the side of the boat totally catches water. Game over. You know what I mean? I'm just going to get pieced out on that one. And so, and that's all right, you know what I mean? This one would actually have been better if I was actually faced more towards the wave. Because then that can get my nose nosed in, it's going to settle in, and then even if the water builds up on one side more than the other and it starts to spin me that direction, then I can really use that. But going in right here, like having this sideways, you know what I mean, that just sideways purls, and that really grips and carries me across the wave. So, yep, no chance on that one. All right, hell yeah, let's see what's up next. All right, didn't purl, but these are the times where it's just like I'm not paddling down into the trough. You know what I mean? My whole goal was like to, and let's talk about this, because this is the tallest part of the wave. It's built like a pyramid, and so the easiest thing that I'm thinking is to get around it and then spin on the other side where my body is at least up against, you know what I mean, maybe the left side, this over here of this big part. And so what I'm trying to do is like trying to lean and edge so my boat doesn't catch, you know what I mean, and with a lot of sideways angle. But with that, I just travel right across, you know what I mean. So at some point, I'm missing a pry. I don't even, like spatially, I don't even know where I am on this. So actually, even if I'm going to do that, yeah, look at all the paddle strokes I take forward. But right now, this is when I'd want to be leaning a little bit harder and then really taking paddle strokes backwards. Even just a backwards or a sweeping or a pry stroke, that would turn this boat. But we do none of that just because I think the wave is going to help me turn. But in this case, no, we're just ferrying across. And so that's interesting because the times where what I'm expecting is this part of my boat to catch and purl, and it doesn't. Like right there, like we hardly get anything, and even right here, we get a little bit of sideways. Twice we kind of get our boat, you know, hitting this stuff. Where I've mentioned once, I guess, that paddling, taking a forward stroke and a turning stroke, you know what I mean? It's fine to have this angle, but just one to try to straighten it out just a little bit. Not all the way, because we still want to spin that direction. But yeah, this is the classic just trying to ferry across. And I was trying to spin there, but we're just ferrying across. All right, hell yeah. So at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the spins that actually do work. So you can just go right there to see but I've already posted those. So one of the spins that did work was settling into this wave and then getting my the back of the boat up against this pile. And then when that happens, like, hey, if I hit right here, the back of my boat gets pushed up against the pile. And if this gets hit downriver, this part is going to spin that direction. So we do spin this direction, but like right now, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like right now I need to be on this prying, just like I would, but this is maybe my offside. Well, I don't know. It should be about the same. Like, no, this wave, I have to actually paddle on my offside. So that is impressive. I've never really talked about that. I've just gotten pretty decent on my offside, and that takes time. That is not an easy skill to learn. But this is my offside. This wave, I have to paddle in on my offside, and I'm just not, quick with transitions. So hell yeah. So the back goes up against there, but we do spin. My body placement should be up against that back part of the wave. If we're spinning in, I should be, yeah, this is interesting. It's kind of like the opposite. It's, yeah, it's the opposite. I'm almost should be over here and then doing a sweep to sweep the back part of the boat in. But this side works. It's fascinating. This is totally different because I just am on the low side, but I'm still up against the wave. And yeah, so that one did work. So that's interesting. I'd probably have to take another look at that one. All right, sweet. So yeah, I just tried that a couple times, you know what I mean? But it's hard to get position and placement. And even just right there, timing-wise, like, hey, like that is the hit that's causing my boat to rotate. But look, I'm just in no man's land out here. This is paddling in the offside, jumping to this side. I just don't, I don't paddle switch, but I should be prying the back of this boat in. So that, I'll have to take that into account for next time, is if this is going to work, I have to switch paddle strokes right now, and that would be fine because I'm actually switching to my strong side. I'm a left side boater, so I should be prying this boat around that way. And so, but I'm just not able to. Yep. Okay, so we're going to go over to this hole. And yeah, just this hole is just a little bit easier, but once I get to the top, man, it just really wants to kick you out. So that seems slow, you know what I mean? So like, let's take a look at how much faster, and yeah, just even the pry. Like what I notice is I'm just like kind of slowly prying, where even just being intentional of taking two hard, quick strokes. I've noticed that with holding myself centered in the wave is to even, well, that's not going to be for this video, but just trying to sweep the boat one direction, just taking two quick forward strokes can get the boat more aggressively turning back the other direction. So yeah, just a little bit slow on this one. And I'm not prying and leaning back at the same time. You know what I mean? Well, that's pretty decent for a lean back, but definitely another sweep and keep with it. And eyes not right here, but eyes maybe over on the back corner trying to get back into that wave. You know what I mean? So a little bit late on that. All right, hell yeah. Sorry for just stopping this the entire time. So we're still trying that maneuver. And that time at least, look at that. So that time I at least did a paddle switch. So I'm paddling in on my offside, setting that up, and I move to my strong side, allowing this to hit. It should spin that way. But still, I'm missing that second part. Like, that was a weak pry, and there's no body placement on the back. Because, and that's important, because the biggest portion of this wave is over here. Like, if you don't learn anything from surfing, just body position wise, and when you're feeling it out, is like, hey, I always want to be on top of that wave. And it's hard to figure out where that top of that wave is because you're always maybe moving laterally. But like moving 4 inches to 6 inches back and taking two quick pries. The whole idea is to wrap this boat back down into that. And so it's just, yeah, so we did a lot here. We set up that position and we switched sides. Like even that, I'm on my off side, switched positions on my strong side, did a half of a pry, and we're just complacent, and that's fine. All right, hell yeah. And that kind of just showed like, hey, it doesn't matter. So I'm on my off side. I'm going to set that up. I'm going to go to my strong side. And now this wave is just not very bitey. So this is why like this river feature, it's got a wave, it's got a glassy part in the middle that kicks you out, and it's got a hole. And even trying to get from the hole to the wave and not getting pieced out the glassy part is a little bit tricky. And so this is a perfect grounds to learn some of these features. But even just like right here, I was trying to set this maneuver up on this side of this pile. Now I go surf all the way across, and that has a tendency to just push you back towards the middle. But now I can still try to do that same maneuver. But I'm sure, so we set it up offside, switch paddle positions, and see, like, you know what I mean? I kind of just took a forward stroke, and you know what I mean? I should have just been right on. So what I'm learning from this video is, like, the boat bit. So just looking at the front of the boat, just knowing that the boat's going to bite. The boat bites right there, and not very much, though. You know what I mean? So this one was kind of tricky, but I can sense that right here, I can sense the boat's going to spin. So what I want to do is be getting 6 inches back, aggressively putting my paddle stroke in, and then just for me, it'll really set the standard of just taking 2 quick, strong pries, you know what I mean, to build that aggressiveness, to be like, you know what I mean, right there I could have taken 1 pry, like right now, and that's like 2 seconds later, by the time I realize, oh, now I can half a pry, and we're just pieced out. All right, hell yeah. Yeah, we're setting that position up, just not much of a pry, but I guess, yeah, so even watching this footage, you know what I mean, what I'm focusing on is when the boat's going to bite, and I can even help that along. So if I want to do a 1-2 punch, this might be just kind of more advanced, for me or whatever, but I don't think this is proven. But like right now, if I want my boat to bite and spin that way, it would be better if I was on this side, on the, on the right side of the boat, take a half a stroke forward to help that out. You know what I mean? Give it a little bit of oomph, and at the same time, then switch positions and do those aggressive sweeps. You know what I mean? Because you do have time there. You know what I mean? So the boat bites just a little bit. I switch positions and I take a half a pry. But all that has to just be so much more snappy. And I can induce when this thing bites and spins. Just by taking a forward stroke. So that's kind of what I've learned. Is it's just like what initiates the spin is the bite off of the incoming wave. And so here I just let it spin me, go back for the pry. We probably could have had that one if I was just more aggressive. And it's just fascinating. Maybe we don't. But actually, like right there, 2 things happen while jumping to the back corner. So if this is the side that's going to hit, so this is the side that's going to hit, this is the side that's going to also purl. And so if my body weight is closer to this feature, that's going to purl harder and then just actually kick me out. And also if I'm centered, like right here, this hit is actually going to carry me downstream. However, if I can get to the farthest point of this hit, then it's going to act, this hit is going to just spin a lightweight nose of a boat. And so that's going to cause spinning, but not downstream movement of the center of mass. So while this is happening, like literally just even 6 inches backwards, and then not looking here, but looking almost right here at the pile. And so that's difficult to do, but that's kayakers, when they're learning how to do surfs and surf competitions, this is look at where that's such a newbie, just kind of staring at what you're not supposed to stare at. You're supposed to be staring at what your next move is, looking for those features. So yep. Yeah, it was just kind of fascinating, you know what I mean? And you can, this type of stuff, just even like, look at that, I'm just staring into the thing that's going to kick me out, is those are habits that it's really good to film yourself, because then maybe you can break them. Not that staring at getting pearled out is a big deal, but I think that is noticeable. Because even like right here, it's just like I'm looking forward, but then I know my boat might spin, and then once my boat does spin, I just wouldn't know, like going in backwards, it's really difficult to know what's happening. All right, so yeah, so this one we'll try to set it up the same, try to spin that direction. And yeah, this one, I didn't switch paddle hands, I didn't pry. And so just even those mechanics, I could practice. Like just 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to get pieced out anyway. So for this one, it's just like, who cares? Just at least let my boat bite, get to that side. I did at least that part. I got myself into position, let the boat bite, and then I moved to this side, this tube. What I'm missing is switching paddle hands. So I need to actually switch hands with my paddle, because right now I'm coming in on my off side. I need to switch to my strong side and then do a couple sweeps. I mean, that's asking a lot, but at least now that I know that, you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, this video is very good, because I'm just like, okay, I'm setting my boat in position. It's going to bite. That's going to cause rotation. I'm going to jump to the far corner and then do a pry. So even just like right there, we already know what was going to happen, maybe. You know what I mean? If I'm trying to intuit this, I'm going for a surf. This part of my boat's going to bite that way. And look at that, just super soft on there's no body movement. Trying to lean backwards just a little bit. But now, this is really cool, because I can just crispin all this stuff up. Potentially, I'm not going to be able to surf every time, because there's still a hell of a lot of drag and boat dynamics, and this surf isn't very big. But at least this is such a cool training wave, because I'm not going to get flipped every time. It's really easy to just paddle into it. And so let's analyze this one. This one's probably still staring too much at the wave, so we pearl. We actually spin pretty good. And this is so fascinating, because like there is a tendency to look at this. So the boat hits right here, and I actually, instead of staying on that high side and prying, I just moved to this low side. And the take-home point is that here is the steepest part of the wave. This is a substantial amount of water. And so if I start my spin when I'm on this left side, this is left, this is right over there. If I'm on this left side, then when the boat spins, I can use that mound of water as leverage. And so here is just so fascinating that shifting my weight to right here is on the down slope of that, and so that helps that part of the boat come around. So this is opposite of what and that worked. That's what I did in the time that I actually spun off this wave. I got myself into position, I let that part of the boat spin, and then I actually kind of pressed in. So I think there's a couple of things are happening. I'm pressing in, getting my body mass right there, and this is also the lower side, and that's causing this to help to spin. It's causing, and that spin also drives this part of the boat down in there. We don't catch that one, so maybe, you know what I mean? Yeah, it'd be fascinating to play around with both of those techniques. All right, hell yeah. So that was just trying to edge, and keep my boat from purling. But this wave is so small that it just kind of pieces me out if I'm sideways. I really didn't even catch anything on that one. All right, hell yeah, that looked pretty decent. So let's see what we do. We're going to come in effectively edge, and then we just get a really decent spin. So this spin comes from not from edging effectively. Just I'm really trying to lean out on this tube. You know what I mean? Where if boats had more rocker underfoot, I don't think it should be necessary to hella lean out onto this tube. You might just have an R1 surf boat where it might be really tippy for running rivers. But that's why I'm able to spin this, because look, there's hardly any purl, and I'm doing the turning. So I'm coming into this wave, and then I'm aggressively leaning, and then using that pry to spin me around. And that's just unexpected, because a lot of the times I mess up, so that time it just spun around so clean. But that time there was a few of these times where I'm just like, no, hell no, I'm going to try to really lean over that edge. And this brings up, in my R1 design video, is like leaning off the center of the boat. That's what I think about leaning and edging. But now that's not true. Getting to this back corner is where I actually get most of my rocker underfoot. Like if I lean to this back corner, that actually lifts more of the boat out of the water. And it's a really great pivot point as well. So leaning back and prying at the same time. So those are kind of synonymous. So if I really want to lean the boat, I'm going to lean out, but lean back and pry. So basically lean back and pry. All right, hell yeah. All right, that's cool. So now we're going to spin off this hole. Now this hole gives me 2 opportunities. So that's pretty sweet. Because this hole is sticky, I can come in and let the boat sweep, do my little pry. But I wasn't able to get it around. And so when we sweep, this part of the boat hits right there. But I know the hole's fairly sticky, so I intuitively go up for a second sweep, and that works out pretty good. Now, is there any way I could have held on to this? Well, just keep spinning. You know what I mean? So let's see. Let's watch this all the way through and see what I can learn from it. So bite, paddle back in. That was good. But now that we're spinning all the way around, like right now I have to know my boat is spinning into glassy water. And so if I'm jumping to this side, cool. And look, this is where the wave is. So I just jump right there. But I need to be driving in. Sorry about that. I need to be driving in the boat again. So we bite. And now the boat's going to go all the way around. So jump to the top, but then paddle this. You know what I mean? If this is my forward paddle, I'm going to sweep the nose of the boat back in. And fight for the... And then so if I sweep the boat back in, I want to get my body as low as possible. So this is the scenario where when I'm right here, even though like I'm facing the wrong direction, just imagine that I'm actually facing like a normal surf. And so if I was facing like a normal, is this going to make sense? So let's say this is the front of the boat, this is the back of the boat, and over there is the right side, this is the left side. So if I'm on the right side facing the wave and my boat gets hit on this side and starts to spin, what I want to do is get as far away from this point as possible, which would be, this is kind of interesting where, this is tripping me out, but I actually, do need to jump to this left side to pry my way back in. And so if I'm facing this direction on the right side, this is going to spin this way. I'm going to jump over here and pry my way back in. And as I do that, I'm going to be backwards now. But that's the, so it's just interesting. Here I have the opportunity to go backwards. So right now I could jump to this side and paddle forwards into it. And that would probably be easier because it's way easier to get my weight forward when I'm facing that direction compared to leaning back. All right, okay, this is fascinating because I'll have to think about that and see how that applies to some of my other surfs. All right, so that looked pretty good. So didn't get deep, but I was able to still paddle around that wave. So that's pretty good. So I think one thing that I could improve is like right here, take a paddle stroke forward. You know what I mean? So coming in, take a paddle stroke forward just a little bit. You know what I mean? My boat's still going to bite that direction, but it would actually bite. See, this is the time I'm just trying to lean without the boat biting. And hey, that's successful too. So that's two different options to catch this surf. One is just heavily lean. And yeah, I think I'm doing some of these I'm just trying to like, hey, let's just lean it out and really spin it around, and so that did it. You know what I mean? So that's effectively leaning and then prying off that wave. We at least do a spin. But the opposite of that is come in right here, take a half a stroke forward, hit, kind of purl, but still have an angle that direction. So I do spin. And then I do that same game of, so what would the game be? So if I do hit on this side, so why didn't that make sense on the other video? Was it just the way we were spinning? Because if this side of the boat gets hit, I'm going to pry on that opposite side. So I need to go back to that footage just to see why didn't that make sense? So it was this one. And it was just like, let's say I was just surfing right here like normal and I was on this right side. I would allow my boat to, oh, yeah, I think it's spinning two different directions. If I was on this right side and I was spinning the other direction, then the bulk of the wave is on this side. So and this is hard to visualize just because I'm facing this direction. But just pretend I'm facing that direction upstream. I'm on that far right side facing upstream. The boat would have to go that direction. If the boat goes that direction, hell yeah, I'm just ready for a pry. But this is the opposite. So this must be the harder direction. But this hole... yeah, this hole is interesting because when the water gets bigger, I can spin two different ways. But this must be the intuitive way to spin, which is kind of opposite of this wave. Is I'm spinning this direction, and I'm going to be on the low side. So I definitely have to switch to this side, which is the same side. So yeah, so there is that. Having it. And no, that makes sense. I think where I'm getting caught up is like, I think from my perspective, I thought the boat was getting hit on this side. So that was a mistake. I thought the purl was happening on this side. No, the purl happens on that other side. So the other side purls over here. That side bites, and I want to get away from that. So that is the faux pas that I made. Because I was just like, what's going on? So if I'm facing upriver and I'm on that right side, and this is the left side of the boat, the other side is the right side. The right side of the boat gets purled. So like right there, it's that right side that gets hit, and that causes rotation this way. And so I want to be as far away from that as possible. So I want to jump to this side, and then I need to pry my way back in. If I'm facing the wrong direction, it's a paddling forward, or it's a sweep my way back in. But that's what we missed out on that one. All right, so let's just watch these and get caught up. All right, hell yeah. So just heavily leaning. So that was that one. You know what I mean? Where we're not biting, we're just practiced on heavily leaning. All right, let's see what we got on this hole now. Hell yeah. Now, does this make sense? When we come in, my boat's going to bite on the right side? Hell yeah, I'm already on my strong side up against the wave, so I'm going to be interested in prying. You know what I mean? So those are the two dynamics. I know where the tallest part or the poofiest part of the wave is. That from a and you know what I mean, it's good to mention this, is like water is bulky, you know what I mean, and water has elevation. To actually get my boat to the top of this elevation requires a hell of a lot of energy. And I think that is something that gets you know, I mean, if I was on like a, what would those things, like at Costco where they have a forklift, if I was to forklift this whole setup, you know, 3 feet higher, that takes, you know, whatever energy that takes. So this, you know, water just does that. But I mean, just because the speed of the incoming water will carry me up through there, it grips the boat and it carries me up through there. But that's going to be the hardest thing for the water to do, is to get me up onto that. So that's just another tidbit for always paying attention where the tallest part of the wave is. But when we do surfs, it's like, hell yeah, we use that. And it's not because it's white. It's not because it's poofy. The whiteness indicates height. It indicates a hydraulic jump. It indicates water that's stationary and stagnant. You know what I mean? But it'd be the same if the water was coming in at the same speed, and then, I guess if everything was the same speed, it wouldn't matter. Yeah. I mean, if we had a conveyor belt of the same speed, sure, it would take. There would be tension in the conveyor belt to get there, but you wouldn't lose any speed. But that's not the case. This water is stationary. It's stagnant. It's sticky. The white pile indicates that height. But what really drives the wave is not this whiteness. This whiteness just indicates stagnant water. Water that's not moving downstream. Because if you look at this little white particle, it's not, look at the speed difference. So we have the speed of this water coming in, and these little particles of water are just going up and down. And those are at least halfway indicative of, water at least on this layer. You know what I mean? As we push down in, sure, there's water still flowing through that wave. So yes, so even in this, the water in this wave isn't stationary, it's just slower. And from continuity, we have a thin stream of water coming in. This might only be like 3 to 6 inches. And then we have 3 feet of water leaving. So that's the velocity reduction. All right, hell yeah. But that allows me to spin off of that. Cool. And still complacent, you know what I mean? This whole thing is, my boat's going to bite. I'm going to do a sweep. I hardly do. I just let the boat do its thing. And that's where, even if I let the boat do its thing, just physically being more aggressive, just even mentally, like, putting my paddle stroke, getting ready to whip that, pry. So like right now, just like, just really complacent. And that kind of surprises me. But maybe not. I mean, I think there is just a lot of like feeling it out, you know what I mean? And this is cool enough, you know what I mean? Just kind of entering a wave and getting kicked out. I mean, I find this fairly enjoyable. And so, but even right here, you know what I mean? A lot of these fundamentals are just, see, I'm leaning, and this lean would be more effective if I was just a little bit behind, which I am. I'm not just right on the side of the boat. And but hell yeah, just even leaning around this hole and going back and forth. And so is there something I could do right here? Because we really get like hit pretty hard right there. So yes, same thing. So I just learned something. So if this is the place where my boat is going to get hit, now my boat is getting hit on this upstream side. I'm going to call it the left side of the boat for whatever reason. And so I want to be on the far corner. So even just right here, I'm learning something, because as I'm whipping in, my boat's going to hit right here. I can lean farther forward. That's where this wave is. And I can actually drive my paddle stroke forward. So this is kind of fascinating, because I'm just kind of looking to edge and pry maybe. But like right now, my boat's going to bite. That's going to be rotation, you know what I mean? But if I'm in line with that, if the boat bit right here and I'm right here, this is just going to cause me to just go off that wave. And so the physics are, if the boat bites right here and I know it, but I'm already at the front of the boat, you can just imagine. Let's say there was a person. Let's say I was just sitting right here and facing this direction and ready to sweep the front of the boat right in. This part gets hit that aggressively. Oh, hell yeah, I'm going right in. And so if you imagine another person, this is why R2 raft surf works so well. Because one person can be, it's kind of like a dog bone. If one person is down here in this hole and the other person is up here, then sure, they're going to rotate. But you're also equal and opposite going to rotate down into the wave, and you can set that in motion. So a two-man, surf crew can really, using kind of like that dog bone style of surfing, man, you can just get really whipped into holes. All right, hell yeah. So that's what this surf was missing. So let's take a look at it again. Yeah, we're just enjoying ourselves, but this hole isn't big enough for me to go back and forth. I call this the smiley face, where if this is a surf hole, we can edge our way around, and then it's going to get me back around. And, so even right here, like I've done this before, when this wave gets a little bit bigger, I also just forward paddle. So I'm going to edge, come around, and then I'm coming back around, I forward paddle, and if I forward paddle, then I'm just ready to front surf. So that's kind of what we're missing on that one. And I guess this wave just never, it's so small, I never thought, to treat it like it was a bigger wave. And so that's the other thing with this level, is like these features still are the same. Here's a pyramid, and here's a wave hole, but they're just small enough to be like almost, they're very finicky. But that is where these videos for myself, I can learn just a lot of good skills. So let's analyze this one. Heavily leaned, but we just purl like too close. Yep. Yeah, that one is I don't know what I would be able to do. Maybe just aggressively instead of just prying and holding. I don't know why I think taking a couple strokes on the pry would be better than just holding the pry. And then this one. Oh, so that one I was just trying to low side, you know what I mean? So the boat's going to bite on this side. I should be on the opposite side prying, but there's a chance that just being on this low side, the boat's not going to go up. And so, yeah, it's interesting, you know what I mean? That worked once, but that time, definitely not. All right, hell yeah. So that was pretty sweet that even just doing that technique, I have a little bit of time. So heavily leaning, not purling. And I try to throw in that pry kind of aggressive, like right there. See, but this is where I just need to see how I'm ready to just jump to the other side instead of finish prying until I can physically feel my boat slide back into that hole. I'm going to be facing the wrong direction. I'm going to be looking downstream, but that is just something where I just need to still keep low, edged, and pry until I feel my boat. Because see, look at that. My boat is totally edged, leaning and prying, but right here, I'm ready to, I sit up. And just from there to there, the boat stops. It goes into a side surf. You know what I mean? So if that's what I would want, but no, I want to keep the boat rotating onto this pivot. And so don't give up right now. So I just need to get that spider sense of being like, hey, the boat actually is rotated, but I think the boat's going to rotate, but hell no, it's not. I got to really focus on that pry right there. But yes, it's interesting how that kind of gave me like two opportunities to save that one. And I even go back to my pry position. That's crazy. You know what I mean? Because I pry, stand up, and then try to pry again. And even when I do that second pry, so here's getting totally vertical, then realizing, uh-oh. And then I guess I don't lean into that pry at all. But still, yeah, same thing. It's like, hey, look at that. I took a pry, and I'm instantly trying to move my body. And that's fine because it's uncomfortable to have your boat slide back down the hole when you're, reversed to it. And so, yep, so I'm just too focused on wanting to body shift facing that hole. And this is where kayakers, and even OC1, what they will do is, so if I'm trying to pry this in, they don't mind. Their boats are so small they don't really care what direction they're facing. They're always facing up against the wave, and their paddle's always up against the wave. So even if I stayed onto this side, with the pry going in the opposite direction, I can just lean forward and then and try to surf the wave in a downriver position. That's hard, and that's something that I should actually focus on in some of my next sessions. It seems almost impossible or very difficult, but that's an easy thing to at least try. All right, hell yeah! So we flipped over on that one. So heavily edged, and hey, we went all the way around. But this is one where my boat does have rocker, so we got the boat around. And I know my boat's just going to peace out this way. So what I'm looking to do is stay on this side and get a pry in. So I try to pry right here. Even though this does make my boat tip up onto edge. But, yep. And so we just get pieced out. So just because I was just so excited to get a spin where I definitely need to be jumping and then taking a forward stroke on that other side, even just being a quick forward stroke, even if I don't grip the paddle, right. So we actually don't even jump to that side. So I need to jump to, I just intuitively thought prying that into position might be good, but that is good. I didn't think I think most of the times I jump to the other side because I come in on my offside on my right. I spin, and then I just switch to that same side that just feels normal. And that'll be very useful when coming in on my strong side, spinning, and then going back to my strong side. But this was a good opportunity that I can, switch to either positions. But yeah, I just try that pry, and it doesn't work out. All right, hell yeah. All right, leaning, you know what I mean? So the boat didn't purl. So, and we get halfway deep. Boat doesn't purl. But yep, we just try to do and even if I stick with that pry, I don't stick with the pry. I think I'm leaning off the side of the boat too, even though my paddle seems to be way out there. Look my body position though. My body position is totally centered where I need to be on this far corner. That's where my boat pivots. All right, so I think that's what I learned from that one. All right, see, that time I looked like I was even just back just a little bit. No, I'm still just right on that side, but hell yeah. Fall out, but at least that was... Can you notice any difference between this one? That one I just kind of just get ridden up the wave, where this time I have a little bit more momentum, and we do hit... The boat hits right there, so that is the part that causes the rotation, but this isn't good either. You know what I mean? Like I said, having this purl, this is going to drive momentum that way. Sure, I'm providing the pivot point, but it's not as effective as coming in and taking a paddle stroke forward right here and trying to get deep, still with angle that way, so I do hit and rotate. But yeah, that... just leaning up against this wasn't working. So we just have a lot of clips of, but hey, that time it worked. You know what I mean? So, so yeah, did we do anything different? Maybe lean farther back, pivoted. Yeah, it's interesting. I would say maybe just a little bit deeper. You know, I mean, I think if I'm doing it on this one, or not, taking a paddle stroke forward just to reduce, get my angle more vertical upstream, and then lean and start to rotate. All right, hell yeah. Yeah, we're just biting, and so we're just biting right here. So we're already two sideways. You know, my whole goal was just come in and like lean up against this, but this is what's causing havoc, and that's where coming in and taking and being more vertical and trying to get to this position and then rotate. Yeah, and I was hesitant about that just because maybe you would get hit and then you would carry too much momentum, but this is This is hard to deal with because this is. It's just got so much gripping force. You just no chance against that. All right, hell, it looks like we might do something here. All right, so that one worked, and from the last clip, we don't probably pearl at all right here. So this part of the boat hardly touches. So we're able to kind of sneak in and squeak in, and even just right there, I could even take a quicker stroke right here to get more vertical, but at least we take that stroke. So just this nice 1-2 of taking a stroke and then going for the pry, because we're paddling in. So at some point, I'm taking a paddle stroke and then I'm going for, like a backstroke or a pry, back sweep. But it's still a back-oriented stroke. So paddling forward and then, so coming in. And that time we just don't pearl on that side. So hell yeah. And then getting over here, well, this part, I was going to say it's hard to get back, but we just got pieced out on that. All right, so not bad, but that was just hell of a lot of angle. We're dead sideways. I'm leaning fairly aggressively, but look at all this pearl. So, So I just don't think I have a chance. This one, I just don't think I'd come in at this steep of an angle. I'd take a paddle stroke forward, and even if all that did was cause it to pearl off the nose, at least that would be rotation. Because look at this. If all of this water was just right off the nose, cool. Then we're going to get a hell of a lot of rotation. This is lateral movement. The only reason I'm rotating is because I'm doing a pry. Yep, so that sideways pearl is not helping. So yeah, but I just thought like, hey, I could edge enough to where the boat won't pearl. So here's a situation where it doesn't, and I'd say that's effective. You know what I mean? So just coming in, how do we come in on this one? Fairly edged. And so that actually worked out pretty good. Yeah, we never pearled. And yeah, that was a success. I just didn't bring it all the way around. And so that's where, I don't know, do you think, I just need to be more spatially aware to be okay with still facing downstream, bringing this around without the need to switch positions, just to kind of feel it out. But, because I don't want to sit here while this is biting, because even while switching positions, I'm still really far up against this wave. So even in that time, I can at least move my body. If I don't do anything else, I can just jump to the front. So when we get into one of them, that's what I do. So I'm going to learn from this one that if I do carry it around and I just don't have any time, move my body as far away from this hit as possible, especially when I know I've sunk it, is to just not turn my body around, but get my body up against that part of the boat. And so, yep. Because even just scraping through here, it's just going to piece me out. All right, really sideways. Again, nothing we can do about that. I can practice edging more. All right, hell yeah. Yep, and then that time I don't purl as much, but we're not low into this trough. That's the other thing is like I need to be low down into this trough. That's why taking a paddle stroke upstream, getting a little bit more vertical, still being able to purl and spin that way. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting. I just got fixated on trying to lean up against this pile. And yeah, that's just kind of where at a surf session things don't work out. So it's good to, watch your footage and because just imagine if I did that every single time, it wouldn't be worth it. You know what I mean? You would go nuts, and you wouldn't progress. So filming yourself is good, and then trying to break habits by seeing what's going on. All right, hell yeah. I feel like this was a unique way to turn. I'm on my strong side on the left. My boat's going to get spun this way. I want to be on the other side. Whoa. Sorry, see, I get mixed around. If my boat spins this way, it got punched on that left side. So I want to be on this side. I want to pry around. So let's look at this. So it's going to get hit. I'm going to pry. Yeah, so that's classic. Yep, so that's doable. And so, yeah, I need to throw this in my wheelhouse. When I'm kind of just right here, this is a great opportunity to get the boat spinning up against there and then just spinning around that shoulder. So that should work. What didn't I do aggressive enough? You know what I mean? Maybe just early. Having, I don't know. Yeah, just is what it is on that one. All right, boat doesn't purl, but yeah, just too early. We don't get any purl, so we're able to spin it around, but I just need to keep going with it. So the take-home point is keep going, just keep my eyes right on this paddle stroke, keep prying, keep angling on this tube, bringing it around, and if my boat's going to bite and I don't have anything to do, I can at least jump to this forward, just jump forward, and we're going to see that at the end. So that's what I learned from this one is pry, keep that pry going, and then if you spin it all the way around, jump to the front. You know what I mean? Because just because your boat is vertical and catches a surf doesn't mean it's going to get bucked around. Because this gets bucked because my body position's awful. I'm really close to where this is biting. Again, if it bites right here, I want to be in that opposite corner. That's where I should have been. So bring it around. And if I bring this around, it's maybe going to hit right on this part. So, yeah, this is interesting. So bring it around. And then even... Oh, I think I can learn something from this one. I think even like right here is to jump forward and keep prying. So as I lean, bring it around, jump forward and keep prying. I don't know, but yeah, get the hell away from this part where it's going to bite. So edge, pry, and then maybe jump forward because that's where the bigger part of the wave is. So that's interesting. So yeah, two schools of thought. One is continue your body weight down into the trough to get that spin going, or just know that you have already effectively spun. My boat's going to get onto that pile, and so I can also get forward. And I don't know if I'd have time to do that and pry at the same time, but at least I have that in my mental wheelhouse. All right, edge, pry, and I'm just looking always to thinking that I've got it. I have no spatial orientation of like knowing that I've set this in, so it just makes sense to keep on the pry, get my eyes down by my paddle, and just keep prying and keep pivoting on this point. And just keep going. Try to do a 270. Wouldn't that make sense? Just like keep prying to where the boat does a 270, and the more that I would do that, then I could land it into a side surf or something. But just keep prying and keep edging over there. I don't know, you know what I mean? Yeah, just kind of riding the surf. This is what happens where I was just trying to angle too far in, and then no lean, and so this really needs a paddle stroke, to get the boat vertical and to get it deep in here and to use that to my benefit. yeah, I just thought I could high side around this, but this wave doesn't have any white, it's got current carrying it all the way through. So yes, it is high, but that's just going to carry me off, even if I'm high sided against it. It's just real small. All right, spin. Yep, so just probably shifting my weight too early, you know what I mean? Like even just like right here. Yeah, try to go, I need to get my body low, keep prying, and keep my body low. And so like right here, I've already given up, where, if this is the screenshot, well, hell, give it another stroke, you know what I mean? So I think doing 2 aggressive paddle strokes, even like 1, 2, 3, I think that can emphasize being aggressive with the pry. All right, hell yeah, different way to turn. Now, does this make sense? So I'm going to allow my boat to, even though it's weird, it's like I see this water first, but it's going to hit over here. Even though the water is kind of building up, but this is going to cause the boat to rotate that way. So so like right here is where the boat gets hit. I want to be on that far side, prying. And see, just hardly prying at all. So and this would be where I almost want to like almost do a quick 180 with my body, but lean back, because that's where the bigger part of the wave is, and then pry my way back in. Or if I'm actually turned around, I can actually just do a forward sweep to get my boat to turn. But yeah, so where I pried is just like right off the side of the boat. And so that's what we're missing on that, is like, hey, if I'm going to allow this to turn, get as far away from this hit as possible. And before making this video, I really didn't understand that. It's just like more of the boat is turning because of a purl. So this is like catching water, and that's going to cause that rotation. My body position and a pry are the other 2 things that I can attribute to. And that time, pried off the side, and I don't get back at all. So, even though that could have been a success. I mean, especially when your boat just like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you do something and you get kind of to this halfway point. Well, it's just like, hey, this is a telltale sign that a little bit more of aggression and looking at the fundamentals is I could have easily turned that into a win. So, and maybe not, you know what I mean? Again, this wave is, just barely big enough to do some of these things without just losing your absolute mind. All right, so again, this session was all about trying to edge. We don't purl, but we just jump back. We just move our body weight. I just keep going. Like right here, like why did I lift my self up? So obviously this has happened every time. It's really difficult. I never watch my footage at the wave. There's no time to do that. So it's just, the only time to learn is like back at the computer, I think. And it's just fascinating that you just get into a mindset at a wave and you just keep doing the same thing on repeat. If it's working, it's working. You'll keep doing that. But if it's not working, man. And when something does like click, even just like right there, it's like, why can't I do that every time? And here is the last 1, 2, 3, 4 clips plus a bonus from the other day. So these are the spins that actually work. So let's see why they worked. So we edge, we don't purl. We just, that sweep was crisp. It felt like the boat was really spinning. So if I noticed, I don't know if I'm just noticing things, but I don't know. Like I'm way back on this corner. The pry looks deep. I don't know. Just kind of interesting. And then so we're already around by the time I get my body position. And so I don't mess that up. The other aspect of this is the boat is still traveling up the biggest part of the wave. So the biggest part of the wave is right here. I want my boat to rotate up into that. Because if I do have rotation, that will bring the rotated part of the boat uphill, and that'll slow that down. So that gives me also extra time. So that part of the boat goes up, it stalls, and you can even see that stall. So the boat goes up against that wave and then stalls and then rides back down. Hell yeah. So this one I just, You know, just like for the camera, it's just like, cool, I spun. I'm just going to get into a side surf. We do some more surfing on that one. So this is that harder way to spin. It's kind of interesting. And I do something unintuitive. I guess let's at least watch this all the way through. Sorry about that. So hell yeah, boat spins. And I just kind of move it around with my hand. And I think that's kind of a cool thing. I find myself doing that, especially on multiple spins in a row. But that is the opposite place that I would be. So if the boat is going to get hit right here, I typically would want to be on the other side, far away from that, prying the boat in. But here I know that I have such a wave, the steepest part of the wave behind me, that I can just shift my weight right here, and then that this spins the boat. The boat isn't up over that wave, and so that drives that part of the boat down. And but yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's still required. That's pretty. Yep, that you can totally tell that part is the highest part, because that took that entire wave to get me to stop my momentum and just start to surf back down into that wave. So hell yeah. So let's just look at that all the way through one more time. Cool. Get into position. Yeah, and just kind of body position over that wave. So yeah, when in doubt, put your body in the best position, usually on top of that wave. This one we do 2 spins. So we do 1 spin on the wave, 1 spin on the hole. Hell yeah. And then we at least ride it out. Okay, so let's see how we do this spin. So yeah, we don't catch any pearl. We're probably leaning pretty decent. And it's just a quick spin. So and we're kind of lower down in here. So the boat's not traveling just like that way. And I can't really tell what paddle stroke I'm taking, but you know what I mean. So what we talked about is taking a forward stroke, getting deep, then leaning, prying, spinning, no pearl, and then we kind of catch it on this side. So let's see what we do on that hole. And so once we're good to go over here, we let the boat bite. What would I want to do? If the boat's biting on this side, I want to pry and then have the boat spin so it catches. I want to pry, so we do a pry, and you know what I mean? But that's it. You know what I mean? In this hole, I don't have to do everything 100% perfect. You know what I mean? Because I know that hole's kind of sticky. So just from intuition, letting it bite, doing a pry off that wave. And that's the other thing. Even if you don't consider it a pry off the wave, is that this is going to spin me out, let's say. So what I want to do is get my paddle stroke onto this pile and paddle back down in. So if you think of it that way, using this part of the pile, it's the most stationary piece of water, and that's kind of fundamental 101 for kayak surfing. But if you're an R1er, what you want to watch is canoe surfing, either OC1 or C1. OC1 is really good because your paddle stroke, watch Dane Jackson. A lot of people don't know, you know, he's a title-winning OC1 OC1 canoe or open boat canoe. And your paddle always has to be in the pile. It has to be used to drive your boat back down or to climb your way to the top. And so that's another way to look at this pry. So the boat's going to bite, spin. That paddle stroke drives my boat down in. But you can see it's just like still, we're not using any sort of sauce or aggression. You know what I mean? We're just, thankfully, we're able to catch that surf fairly easily. All right, sweet. All right, so we got 2 more surfs that are going to work out. So these are all the ones that were successful. All right, hell yeah. So here's the classic of what I can do. Even if I'm facing downriver, it's just like, I got this. And then we do a spin there. So we're going to watch that. So over here, let's see what we do. So our boat's going to bite right away. I probably want to pry, and I want to be on the farthest point away from that. And so I hardly pry at all just because this is just a nice little hole. So that's, yeah, that time, yeah, that's fairly interesting. I didn't really have to do anything, but no, we do a pry right there. Sorry about that. So when my boat bucks right there, I at least throw in a little bit. You know what I mean? Just and then that saves it. And that was the perfect amount because traveling back in, I just kind of instantly knew I didn't want my boat to bite on this. So this is, I think I can get a fairly good sense of this. Like I can just kind of feel where my boat is stability-wise, but jumping to this front, this is where I would be sitting if I was facing this direction in a surf. So that's why if you're backwards, that's the number one thing to do, just jump to the wave, and this is where the wave is. And then I've just known that every time I do that, I get pieced out so easily. So now I'm trying to low side my body back down, and then heck, that gave me just a little bit of time to readjust. So I just noticed that. Hell yeah! So let's look at that one all the way through. All right, so we're spinning, prying, body shift so we don't purl, and hell yeah, that was pretty sweet. And let's see what we do on this one. Yeah, and I need to throw that one in my wheelhouse because that's where I can do kind of multiple spins. Because this wave wants to carry me this way, it also wants to carry me up into this wave, and that wave wants to push me back to the center. So it's a perfect place to do like multiple spins. So the boat's going to hit on this far side. I must pry and spin it around. And the boat kind of goes up into the meat of the wave, so that allows for the stall. So there's the stall, and I'm going to be riding back down. Now, what should I do here? Well, I'm not all the way around, so oh yeah, no, so that actually whipped me all the way around. And oh, I even go too far. So now the boat's going to do the same thing. It's going to hit on this side. I want to be on the opposite side prying, and so that's what we do. We jump back to this side and we do a pry, but and that's it. All right, so let's watch that all the way through because this was probably the best one. Is just like, whoa, we linked some surfs. So we did this one, traveled over here. And that's just what I would like to be able to do is just like, hey, just do that every time. If I was able to do that, you know, it'd be kind of interesting. So it's just kind of interesting that just out of a full session, these are the clips that I can get. And this is a pretty far away. We're going to zoom in on this one. But hell yeah, almost able to do 3. This is a little bit lower flow, but it's just fascinating that even with lower flow, all right, so the boat bites. I want to be on the far side of it. I'm going to pry. Oh, and this is fascinating because this time, what I would expect is the boat to bite on this side and then swing up into that wave. But this actually carries me all the way around the wave, and then I'm just in this trough, and I'm just easily able to spin off that trough. And so even just this trough is a pretty decent place to spin. So let's take a look at this one in conjunction with over here. So am I spinning the same direction? Yeah, this one I just don't travel all the way across the wave. So this one I'm able to turn this way, but the boat goes up against the meat, and that actually provides the stall right there, and then just really whips me around. Where so let's look at that one once, and then we'll go back to the other footage, just so we can have an idea of all right, so whoops, sorry about that. All right, so the boat gets bucked to the wave. Yeah, that happens the same, but we just get pieced all the way around. So, and then the purl happens real early, and then we just kind of travel around the wave. So this was kind of a different way to surf. Compared to the other clip, Yeah, they're close. I mean, this one is just really far on that other corner. You know what I mean? And it's pretty placid over there. Where this one, all of our spins are right up against that meat, and then just right off the end. So on the other wave, we're over here in kind of a an easier place where it's not, because if we don't, because we can easily roll off that wave. So that's kind of interesting. So this one we do one good spin up against that wave to stall, and then we just roll off. All right, hell yeah. Compared to this one, where we just kind of roll around the wave. So we go all the way to the other side of it, and then we just kind of spin in an easy location. All right, hell yeah. But this one works out because when we spin, here's the meat of the wave, and this is where my body position is. So my body is kind of always getting pushed up against the meat. And so even just like right there, you're like, well, like right now, here's the meat of the wave, I'm over there. But here's where my boat's going to get pushed, and it kicks my boat that way, but it also pushes the back up against the meat of that wave. Even though it's kind of small, it's kind of the dynamics that are going on, and so that's allowing me to rotate a couple times. All right, hell yeah. So that's it. You know what I mean? So I'm going to end with this clip, and thanks for joining me. I think I learned a lot on this little session of learning how to R1, and just cool format. So where I can actually kind of teach this stuff and kind of pause and go back to the things that I want to show. So hell yeah.